A man was walking along a railroad track. Suddenly, he saw a train speeding toward him. But instead of getting away from the track immediately, the man started to run in the direction of the approaching train. When the train was very close, he finally jumped off the track. Why did he do this? When the man saw the train, he was on the bridge. He couldn't leave the track right away, and the near end of the bridge was closer to the oncoming train. Ryan worked as a cook's assistant in Mr. Miller's house. One day, the man's competitors promised Ryan to pay him a huge sum of money if he poisoned the rich businessman. Ryan waited until the cook took a day off. Then he made dinner for the whole family, Mr. Miller, his wife, and their 2 children. Each family member ordered a different dish. Ryan only poisoned the one the businessman was going to eat. You can save Mr. Miller if you guess which dish is his. Keep in mind that Donna, the man's wife, is a vegan. The businessman himself loves meat. Kira, the daughter, is on a diet. And Amy can't eat sugar. So, which dish did Ryan make for Mr. Miller? It's spaghetti with meat sauce. Congrats, you saved Mr. Miller. Someone stole extremely important documents from Mr. Larson's office. 1 week later, the police arrested the criminal. It was a woman called Emily. She was being questioned for 3 days straight, but still refused to tell the police where the folder with the documents was. Then, several officers visited her apartment. At first sight, nothing was out of the ordinary, but after careful inspection, they figured out where the documents were. Can you do the same? One floor tile seemed to be loose. Once the officers lifted it, they found the papers. Carl was a rich man who had 2 adult sons, Ethan and Christian. They all lived in one house. One day, Carl saw that his most expensive ancient Chinese vase was missing. The only people who were at home the night before were his sons. The man didn't want to involve the police. That's why he decided to talk to each of his sons himself. He saw Ethan driving through the gates. He was back from his daily visit to the bakery. The guy said that the night before, he'd been practicing the guitar in his room. He didn't notice anything suspicious. Christian was near the swimming pool. He told his father, "Now I understand. Yesterday I saw Ethan. He was putting some box in the back seat of his car. It must have been the vase." But Carl immediately realized it was Christian who had taken the vase. How did he figure it out? Ethan drives a sports car. It only has 2 seats. He couldn't have put the box in the back seat. It means Christian is lying. There was a blackout in the city, but a bus driver still noticed a dog on the road. He managed to stop in time not to hit the animal. How come? This near miss happened during the day. Look at this poor guy. He seems to be stuck in the middle of a natural disaster. Which one should he choose to survive? A tornado, flood, or lightning strike? The only place where the guy might find some kind of shelter is a high hill behind his back. High ground during a lightning storm or a tornado is a terrible idea, which means the man will only be able to survive a flood. Jack and Deborah lived in a pretty small house near a forest. One day, the man went for a walk and never came back. Deborah called the police, and they went to search for her husband. Soon they spotted him. He was lying on the ground, trapped under a large tree that had fallen on top of him. Suddenly, a stranger appeared from behind the trees. He exclaimed, "How terrible! But it's not a surprise, really. The wind was so strong this morning, it must have knocked down this tree." The police officers immediately arrested the man. Why? tree doesn't look broken by the wind. It looks as if someone cut it down. A notorious bank robber came to the city, and huge sums of money started to disappear from the vaults of the city's banks. No one could stop the criminal. They were never caught on CCTV cameras. Bank security officers never saw anything suspicious. There was only one strange thing about the thief. They always left behind a slip of paper with a tooth, spider, and a lizard drawn on it. Was it some code? But several months later, the police managed to arrest 3 suspects. They were Mr. Pantafent, Ms. Twospard, and Mr. Superhero. Yep, some people do have bizarre last names. Who is the infamous bank robber? It was Miss Twospard. The pictures she kept leaving behind were her hint. Tooth, spider, lizard. Jeffrey was brought up by his grandfather, who was a billionaire. Unfortunately, the guy didn't seem to know the value of money. The elderly man worried about his grandson. He told Jeffrey he would stop giving him money until the guy got married. It meant that Jeffrey had to forget about his fun life. No more fast cars, parties, and clubs. Luckily, it didn't take the guy long to find a girlfriend. They met on a dating site. Amanda seemed to be everything Jeffrey had been dreaming about. Smart, pretty, funny, and rich. The guy was about to propose to her when something happened. One day, Amanda sent him a photo. In this photo, she was standing next to a luxurious car. The message she sent afterward read, "How do you like my new toy?" That's when Jeffrey realized Amanda had been lying to him all this time. How did he figure it out? The girl is wearing a badge in the photo. She must be working at a car dealership, not buying extravagant cars. It was an unusually snowy winter. Detective Adam Davis was walking home from his office when he saw a young woman. She was carrying 2 large bags. For some reason, the girl seemed suspicious to the detective. He came up to her, showed her his badge, and asked what she had in her bags. "Oh, I'm going on vacation. That's just some stuff I'll need there." And still, Adam called for backup and arrested her. Why? Look at the woman's footprints. She got out of the house through the window. A bizarre way to leave your own home. She must have broken into the house, and there are stolen things in her bags. They have no feathers, no scales, no body, and no bones. And yet, they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? A pair of gloves. A math teacher told his students about Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw 1 line and turn 9 into 6. His only condition was that the students couldn't lift their pens from the paper until the line was finished. Mark was the first one to complete this task. How did he do it? He drew the letter S in front of IX and got 6. 4 girls were driving to a party. At some point, the one who was behind the wheel failed to control the car and crashed into a tree. Luckily, everyone in the car was wearing seatbelts, so no one was hurt. But when the police arrived, none of the girls wanted to admit she was the one who was driving. The officers examined the car and looked around, and in no time, they knew which girl was lying. Can you figure it out? Almost all the girls are wearing really high heels. It must be extremely uncomfortable and unsafe to drive wearing such shoes. And only the girl in the black dress has sneakers on. She was the driver. Brandon's wife Brenda went to visit her friend who lived in another town. They agreed she would call her husband when she arrived there. But instead of calling, she sent him a message. "Hey, Everything is fine. I'll just go downstairs to buy coffee. I'll be brave now. More details in the next message. Love ya. Once Brandon read this message, he jumped into his sports car and rushed to the town where his wife had gone. Why? Brenda isn't simply terrible at spelling. The typing errors make up the word save. When Victoria went to college, she started to live in a dormitory, sharing a room with another girl, Maria. Victoria's neighbor was very popular with guys. She had 3 admirers, Walter, Nathan, and Jeremy. But one day, Maria disappeared. Victoria was sure one of the guys was behind this. Maria loved drawing, and there were several pictures on her table. Victoria looked at them attentively and realized who she should ask about her friend. Jeremy must know something. Look at the pictures. A jacket, yo-yo, mouse, earth, rocket, and elephant. The first letters of these objects make up his name.